Welcome to the Raspberry Sky Straight Talking series. I am delighted to introduce you to David Elton, one of the founding partners of Limewood Group and Homegrown Hotels. Welcome, David. Before we start, could you just give us a quick overview of Limewood and Homegrown Hotels?
We're tiny, first of all. We have two hotels in the Limewood Group portfolio. One is Limewood, which is an award-winning sort of five-star hotel, country house. Emphasis there, laid-back luxury style, and really changing the way in which I think UK country house hotels operated. And we also have a hotel called Portetta in Courchevel, which is obviously a seasonal hotel, ski hotel, very efficient converter. Homegrown Hotels we started 9 years ago, and the sort of the face of Homegrown Hotels is a brand, for want of a better word, although we hate being termed a brand, but called The Pig. So the Pig was all about being a restaurant with rooms, and very much focused on rural locations in the UK, southeast, southwest, very much about the whole kitchen garden driving the product, and the food being the key kind of messaging that we would relay to the market. The fact that we had rooms with it where you could stay if you'd had a great meal, that was kind of initially incidental. And the reason for that was we wanted to sort of break the paradigm of country house hotels, which historically in the UK had not had great reputations. You either had great luxury ones, which were very expensive, quite formal, or you had a mix of 3-star, the odd 4-star. Invariably, if they weren't chain owned, they were independent and very inconsistent. So we wanted to basically have a place, purely selfishly, where we would like to go 2 or 3 times a week, a month, whatever, and not have to worry A, about the bill, and B, enjoy great food. Very untraditionally, we said the most important people in the hotel, historically you would say it's the general manager, without question. And we said, well, actually, in the Pigs, it's going to be a combination. It's going to be the forager, the kitchen gardener, and the chef. And they will dictate what is going on. We very much keep the emphasis on driving the localization. So every hotel has a 25-mile menu.
Can you help us understand, since, COVID and lockdown, and reopening, how your customer journey has been affected? Because I know historically it's not been particularly digital, but there are some things as a result of COVID that you've put in place that kind of work for you. Can you talk us through those?
Historically, we would have avoided becoming too automated. Our product is honest and unfussy and refreshingly straightforward, we think. We felt that historically that if you start to go down the sort of intensely automated route, that would detract from that. Interestingly, during COVID and post-COVID, we obviously had to put measures into place that meant that we were getting rid of most of the paper processing that went on that required personal touching or one-to-one interaction with staff at close quarters. So things like the pre-arrival reg, taking all of our menus out of the restaurants, which we thought was, catastrophic. Partly because we think people, a lot of couples, they don't have a lot to talk to each other about, so they do like.
They want to look at the menu.
It helps them along the way. But anyway, the net result of all of that was, of course, we had to go much more into looking at QR codes and how they could be applied. And I didn't honestly think they would work that well, partly because we have a very broad demographic of people, and I was a bit unsure as to how they would uniformly react. But they all just accept it. And I think part of that has been fueled by the fact they're having to use it everywhere else. So, it's just us. So that's helped us enormously. And I think once they've started to get comfortable more with the application of using things like QR codes, then it naturally enables you to look at all areas where you could use it, not just menus, but other areas too, and booking treatments, all of that stuff. Just giving them a quick, easy fix to how to get to do it has proven to be really important. So we haven't worried too much about making it incredibly sophisticated in terms of that particular journey. We just, we feel that they just want it quick, easy, do it. And that's very much the principle we've followed. And it's had a good reaction, I have to say.
And the other thing you were saying that's been quite a success for you, I know in a lot of your locations, well, in all of your pigs anyway, you have great outdoor space for eating and dining, and you've introduced the ability to book that online for locals if they want to come and have a lunch or a dinner, correct? Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
What we had was potentially catastrophic scenario with the social distancing measures that the government imposed on the hospitality industry. And of course, as everybody knows, we had to reduce the number of tables, as did all our industry colleagues, in their restaurants and bars to enable this to be legal. So obviously you were looking at a situation where you had less covers available. However, most of our restaurants and our hotels are in, kind of greenhouse-like conservatory structures because that's part of the whole kitchen garden ethos extension. And they all had terraces around them or outside of them. So we very quickly looked during lockdown at how effectively we could cover in those terraces. And because it's temporary, we didn't need planning permission. We then dressed the areas so they didn't look like a sort of adjunct that had just been chucked on the side of the restaurant or the hotel. They looked like they were supposed to be there, and they were dressed like the restaurant. You just felt you were going into an extension of the restaurant. And we then made those available to book online. Whereas hitherto they had been sort of weather dependent, independent restaurant entities. Now they were more inclusive, but actually you could book them. Yeah. And I think we tried it, the first one at the Pig Near Bath, and it was quite extraordinary. I think within 3 days, we had something like 226 bookings.
Fantastic. And I think probably, we said earlier that your customers are pretty tech savvy, but actually what the driving force for you from a hotel collection, if you like, is to be quick, easy and simple to do business with. So I think you're really cognizant of your customer journey representing what the experience will be once they get to property, right? And you have great people who work for you. They make the experience brilliant. Is that something that is really close to your heart in terms of tying in the booking journey with the experience?
Certainly, I think it's very interesting when we spend a lot of time and effort and hours of planning and creating these places, restoring these. They're all historic buildings, so we've had to lavish an immense amount of time and effort and love on them to restore them, to convert them. Some of them were private houses before, and then creating the settings that make people feel completely at home. And of course, we think we can sit back and relax once they're all finished, and then you start to let the customers in and watch their reactions. And invariably, whilst they absolutely love the overall feel and the decor and the beauty of the settings and the restoration of the grounds and all the rest of it, the one thing that always comes through, always comes through, is the complete almost verging on adoration of our staff. And invariably staff will be singled out, because that always happens. You will fall in love with a waiter or waitress, barman, whatever. And they absolutely effuse about these people. And, the reviews, the Instagram posts, the blogging that goes on, it is just extraordinary. And it is also quite a sobering reminder to us, of course, that, actually, the real thing we have to worry about is the whole delivery of this beautiful product with this beautiful food, because unless you get the right delivery, the whole thing is teetering on not happening, kind of.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's what I think anyway. But
David, thank you. We could talk for hours. Well, we have been talking for hours before anyway, but thank you so much. It's lovely to speak to you, and I really appreciate your time.